Welcome back. If you think you already know the Netherlands, prepare to be surprised, because this video is not about windmills and cheese cliches. I have collected unusual and rarely mentioned facts that reveal a side of the country few people ever hear about. It's worth watching until the end to catch every detail, and if you're curious for more, check the top right corner or the description below. I'd also love to hear your thoughts and corrections in the comments. I respond to every single message. Fact 1. The Dutch Parliament in The Hague, capital in Amsterdam. Most people assume that the capital city automatically hosts the government, but the Netherlands is an unusual exception. Amsterdam is officially recognized as the capital, a title enshrined in the Dutch constitution. Yet the Parliament, the Prime Minister's office, the Supreme Court, and even the Royal Palace where the King works are all located in The Hague. This arrangement dates back to the 17th century, when Amsterdam was already a wealthy trading hub, but the government chose The Hague for political and administrative stability. Today, The Hague is sometimes called the International City of Peace and Justice, because it also houses the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. Meanwhile, Amsterdam thrives as the cultural and economic heart of the nation, attracting millions of tourists each year who are often surprised to learn that the real political power lies about 30 miles away. It is a rare example where two cities share national prestige without competing directly. Fact 2. The tallest people in the world live in the Netherlands. When it comes to average height, the Dutch truly stand head and shoulders above the rest of the world. Studies consistently show that Dutch men average about 6 feet in height, while Dutch women stand around 5 feet 7 inches, making them the tallest population globally. This impressive stature is often linked to a combination of genetics, diet rich in dairy products like milk and cheese, and excellent healthcare standards. A glass of milk with breakfast and slices of Gouda or Edam cheese are almost daily rituals for many Dutch families. Interestingly, the trend has not always been this way. 2 centuries ago, Dutch men were among the shortest in Europe, but rapid improvements in nutrition and public health flipped the statistics entirely. Today, the Netherlands even builds its infrastructure with height in mind. Buses, trains, and door frames are often slightly taller than in other countries. Being tall has become part of the Dutch identity, often joked about internationally, but also admired as a symbol of the nation's quality of life. Fact 3. The Dutch flag was originally orange, not red. The familiar red, white, and blue Dutch flag actually began its life with orange as the top stripe. In the 16th century, when William of Orange led the Dutch revolt against Spanish rule, orange was chosen to represent the new independence and his royal house. The original prince's flag had orange, white, and blue stripes, colors that came from William's family coat of arms. Over time, however, sailors complained that the orange dye faded quickly in the sun and sea air, turning into a strange shade of red. By the 17th century, the government made the practical decision to replace orange with red permanently, and the tricolour we recognize today became official. Still, orange never disappeared from Dutch identity. It remains the national colour, worn proudly on King's Day, at sporting events, and in countless festivals. Whenever you see seas of orange shirts at international football matches, you are witnessing a nod to the flag's original design and the legacy of William of Orange. Fact 4. The Dutch have had an official cycling union since the 19th century. The Dutch passion for cycling is not just a modern lifestyle choice. It is deeply rooted in their history. In the year 1871, the Royal Dutch Cycling Union, known as the Koninklijke Nederlandse Wieleren Unie, was established, making it one of the oldest cycling organizations in the world. Its purpose was not only to promote bicycle racing, but also to regulate safe cycling and encourage the use of bikes as everyday transport. At a time when bicycles were still considered a novelty, the Dutch already recognized their practical value in flat landscapes filled with canals and narrow streets. Over the decades, the Union organized races, built cycling tracks, and lobbied for better infrastructure. This early commitment to cycling culture laid the foundation for what we see today, a country with more bicycles than residents, special bike traffic lights, and entire cities designed around two wheels. The Dutch Cycling Union represents more than just sports. It symbolizes a national identity built on freedom, health, and practical transport. Fact 5. Most beer consumption in the Netherlands is draft, not bottled. Beer has long been a central part of Dutch culture, but unlike many countries where bottles dominate, the Dutch overwhelmingly prefer their beer fresh from the tap. In traditional brown cafes, named for their dark wooden interiors, a perfectly poured glass of draft, Heineken, Amstel, or Grolsch is more than just a drink, it is a ritual. The beer is usually served in smaller glasses than in Germany or Belgium, keeping it cold and crisp until the last sip. This preference reflects the Dutch appreciation for freshness and social atmosphere, as draft beer is best enjoyed in the company of friends. Bottled beer is of course available in supermarkets, often costing around €1 to €1.50 per bottle, or about $1.10 to $1.60, but the cultural weight leans toward pubs and draft servings. Even festivals, football matches, and outdoor events typically rely on draft systems rather than bottled sales. For the Dutch, beer is less about quantity and more about quality, community, and tradition. Fact 6. Dutch police officers patrol on bicycles. In most countries, seeing police on bicycles might seem unusual, but in the Netherlands, it is an everyday sight. Dutch police have been patrolling on bikes since the late 19th century, and today it remains one of their most efficient ways to navigate crowded city streets and narrow canal-side paths. Officers on bicycles can respond faster than cars in busy urban areas, slip through pedestrian zones, and even access parks or alleys where vehicles cannot go. Their bikes are not ordinary. Police bicycles are sturdy, specially designed models equipped with lights, sirens, and strong frames. This form of patrolling also makes officers more approachable to the public, reinforcing the Dutch philosophy of community-oriented policing. In cities like Amsterdam, Utrecht, or The Hague, you are more likely to spot a police officer riding next to you than driving past in a squad car. It is a perfect reflection of the cycling culture. Even law enforcement embraces the two-wheeled lifestyle that defines Dutch daily life. Fact 7. The Dutch traditionally eat huge amounts of black licorice. The Dutch have a national sweet tooth that might surprise outsiders. They consume more black licorice per person than any other country in the world. Known locally as drop, this chewy, salty, sometimes even bitter candy is a staple in Dutch households. On average, each person eats around 4 pounds of it every year, whether in mild, sweet versions or extremely salty varieties that can shock first-time tasters. Pharmacies once sold licorice as medicine for sore throats and digestion, which explains its strong cultural roots. Today, supermarkets devote entire aisles to different styles of licorice, ranging from honey-flavored to double-salted zoet drop. Visitors often find it an acquired taste, but for the Dutch, it is pure nostalgia, tied to childhood memories and long train journeys. Licorice is even offered to guests as casually as cookies or coffee. Love it or hate it, drop is an inseparable part of Dutch identity, showing how unique national tastes can be. Fact 8. Much of the Netherlands lies below sea level. The very name Netherlands translates to lowlands, and it could not be more accurate. About 1/3 of the country sits below sea level. Some of its most populated regions, like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague, are built on land reclaimed from the sea through centuries of engineering brilliance. Massive dikes, dunes, and advanced pumping stations protect towns from flooding, while polders, areas of land drained and enclosed by dikes, have turned water into fertile farmland. Without these waterworks, millions of people and billions of euros worth of infrastructure would be underwater. This constant battle against the sea has shaped Dutch identity, fostering cooperation and innovation in engineering. It is no coincidence that Dutch companies are among the world's leaders in water management, often hired internationally to design flood defenses. Living below sea level is a daily reminder that the Dutch are masters of turning adversity into opportunity, transforming marshes into thriving cities and farmland. Fact 9. The microscope and the telescope were Dutch inventions. The Dutch golden age of the 17th century was not only about trade and art, it was also a time of groundbreaking scientific innovation. The first practical microscope was developed by Antonie van Leeuwenhoek, a Dutch tradesman who used finely ground lenses to observe bacteria, blood cells, and other microscopic life for the very first time. Around the same period, Dutch spectacle makers Hans Lippershey and Zacharias Janssen are credited with creating the earliest telescopes, instruments that allowed humans to peer far into the skies. These inventions revolutionized both biology and astronomy, fueling discoveries that changed our understanding of life and the universe. The Dutch were particularly skilled in lens crafting, a result of their booming glass-making industry. Today, these tools remain essential in science, medicine, and exploration, from diagnosing diseases to studying distant galaxies. It is no exaggeration to say that the Dutch provided humanity with both the window to the smallest world and the doorway to the stars. Fact 10. The name Holland only refers to 2 provinces. Many people casually call the entire country Holland, but technically that is not correct. The Netherlands is made up of 12 provinces, and only 2 of them, North Holland and South Holland, carry that name. These 2 regions are historically the most influential because they include major cities like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague, which dominated trade, politics, and culture for centuries. Foreign traders and travelers often interacted mainly with these areas, so the name Holland spread abroad as shorthand for the entire nation. The Dutch themselves use Nederland in their own language, which directly translates to low lands. To this day, the government sometimes brands the country internationally as Holland for tourism purposes, since it is widely recognized, but it remains technically inaccurate. Understanding this distinction is a small detail, yet it highlights the rich regional diversity of the Netherlands, where each province has its own traditions, dialects, and pride. Fact 11. In the Netherlands, hedgehogs can legally be kept as pets. While many countries restrict exotic or wild animals as household companions, the Netherlands is surprisingly relaxed when it comes to hedgehogs. These small, spiky creatures are fully legal to keep as pets, and Dutch families often adopt them much like others would adopt hamsters or guinea pigs. They require special care, warm bedding, insect-based diets, and quiet environments, but their quirky personalities make them popular with animal lovers. Hedgehogs have even appeared in Dutch folklore as symbols of cleverness and protection. Unlike in the United States, where owning certain species of hedgehogs is banned in some states, the Dutch view them as harmless companions that can live happily in urban apartments or suburban gardens. Pet shops and breeders are regulated to ensure proper treatment, reflecting the country's broader commitment to animal welfare. This openness shows a cultural tendency. The Dutch combine practicality with compassion, creating a society where even unusual pets can find a legal, safe home. Fact 12. The Dutch railway network is one of the densest in the world. For a country of modest size, the Netherlands boasts a railway system that punches far above its weight. With more than 2,000 miles of track spread across an area smaller than the state of West Virginia, it is considered one of the densest networks on Earth. Nearly every city and many small towns are linked by frequent train services, making rail travel the backbone of Dutch transportation. Commuters rely heavily on trains to reach jobs in hubs like Amsterdam, Utrecht, and Rotterdam, while international lines connect directly to Belgium, France, and Germany. Dutch trains are known for punctuality and high frequency, with departures often every 10 to 15 minutes on busy routes. Ticket prices are reasonable compared to driving, with monthly passes costing a few €100, around 300 to 350 or about 330 to 380 US dollars. The system reflects Dutch values, efficiency, accessibility, and environmental sustainability. In many ways, trains are the lifeline that keeps the nation moving smoothly. Fact 13. Dutch students often receive free bicycles from their cities. In a country where bicycles outnumber people, it is no surprise that Dutch students often get free or heavily subsidized bikes from local governments. Many municipalities provide this support as part of educational or social programs, ensuring that children and teenagers can cycle safely to school without financial burden on their families. In cities like Groningen and Utrecht, initiatives have distributed thousands of bicycles to students, sometimes refurbished models, donated and repaired by local workshops. The logic is simple. Cycling encourages healthy living, reduces traffic congestion, and promotes equal opportunities, since every student can travel independently regardless of family income. These programs also cut down on public transport costs, which can quickly add up. Monthly bus passes often cost between 50 and 70 euros, or about 55 to 75 US dollars. By contrast, a free bike lasts for years. It is a practical investment in both the environment and the next generation, reinforcing the Dutch belief that bicycles are not just transport, but a way of life. Fact 14. Half of Dutch towns have dam in their names. The Netherlands is full of towns whose names end in dam, and this is no coincidence. The suffix literally refers to a dam built across a river or waterway, a vital structure in a country constantly battling the sea. Famous examples include Amsterdam, meaning dam on the Amstel River, and Rotterdam, meaning dam on the Rotte River. Even smaller towns like Volendam and Edam carry this watery heritage in their names. In medieval times, as communities grew, building a dam was the first step to protect settlements from flooding and to manage water for trade and agriculture. The name stuck, becoming part of local identity and signaling the town's origins. Today, Dam has also become symbolic in culture. Dam Square in Amsterdam, for example, is one of the most visited places in the country. This naming tradition highlights how central water management has always been to Dutch survival, proving once again that geography shaped both the language and the life of the nation. Fact 15. Many Dutch artists became famous for their self-portraits, like Rembrandt and Van Gogh. The Netherlands produced some of the most iconic painters in history, and many of them turned the brush on themselves. Rembrandt created more than 70 self-portraits, which is extraordinary for the 17th century, when the genre was not yet common. These works charted his life from youthful ambition to financial struggles and old age, offering an intimate diary in paint. Vincent van Gogh, another Dutch master, painted over 30 self-portraits in just a few years, using them as both practice and personal exploration during his turbulent life. Even earlier, artists like Jan van Eyck included themselves subtly in their compositions, showcasing skill and personality. The Dutch valued self-portraits not as vanity projects, but as studies in human expression, identity, and psychology. Today, these works hang in world-class museums, from the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam to the Van Gogh Museum, attracting millions of visitors. They're not just paintings, but enduring windows into the soul of the Dutch artistic tradition. Fact 16. One of the world's first stock exchanges was founded in Amsterdam. In the early 17th century, Amsterdam became the birthplace of modern capitalism when it established one of the world's very first stock exchanges. The Dutch East India Company, founded in 1602, issued shares that could be bought and sold, allowing citizens to invest in overseas trade ventures. This was revolutionary. It spread financial risk among many investors while providing enormous capital for ships and expeditions. The Amsterdam Stock Exchange quickly turned the city into a global financial hub, attracting merchants, bankers, and speculators from across Europe. The concept of dividends, bonds, and public trading all took root here, laying the foundation for today's global markets. Even though the exchange has evolved over centuries, its legacy remains central to the Dutch story of innovation. In many ways, Wall Street and modern financial centers owe their existence to this Dutch invention, showing once again that the Netherlands shaped not only water management and art, but also the world's economic future. Fact 17. The Dutch love eating raw herring with onions. One of the most traditional Dutch snacks is haring, raw herring usually served with finely chopped onions and sometimes pickles. This dish has been part of Dutch culture for centuries, dating back to the Middle Ages, when salted herring fueled the seafaring economy. Today, herring stands can be found all across the Netherlands, especially near harbours and marketplaces. The most iconic way to eat it is by holding the fish by its tail and lowering it straight into the mouth, a ritual that might look unusual to outsiders but feels completely natural to the Dutch. The first catch of the season, known as Hollands Nieuwe, is celebrated every June with festivals, parades, and national excitement. Prices are modest, usually just a few euros, around 3 to 4, or about $3.5 to $4.5 US, making it a cheap yet authentic street food. For the Dutch, herring is more than just fish. It is a link to history, community, and maritime tradition. Fact 18. Dutch schoolchildren are among the happiest in Europe. International studies consistently rank Dutch children as some of the happiest in the world, and especially within Europe. Reports from UNICEF highlight how Dutch schoolchildren feel less stress more freedom, and stronger family support compared to many of their peers elsewhere. Part of this happiness comes from the education system, which balances academics with play and creativity. Dutch schools often place less emphasis on constant testing and more on personal development, teamwork, and outdoor activities. Parents also play a key role, encouraging open conversations at home and fostering independence from an early age. Children are trusted to cycle to school on their own, spend time with friends, and even have a voice in family decisions. Financial stability helps too, as social welfare systems ensure that very few children grow up in poverty. Together, these factors create an environment where young people can thrive without the crushing pressures found in more competitive school cultures. Fact 19. Most Dutch people speak multiple languages fluently. The Netherlands is one of the most multilingual nations in the world. While Dutch is the official language, nearly everyone also speaks English at a very high level, and many people are fluent in German or French as well. This linguistic talent comes from several factors: the small size of the country, its history of international trade, and the Dutch media landscape, which does not dub foreign films but uses subtitles instead. From an early age, children are exposed to English through television, music, and the internet, making fluency almost natural. In fact, surveys regularly place the Dutch at the very top of global rankings for English proficiency among non-native speakers. Beyond practicality, knowing multiple languages is also a matter of pride, reflecting the nation's openness and global outlook. For visitors, this means communication is rarely a problem. Ordering food, asking for directions, or conducting business can almost always be done in English, German, or French with ease. Fact 20. Some Dutch windmills are still used today to pump water. When people think of the Netherlands, they almost always picture windmills, and for good reason. These iconic structures were once essential for survival. Beyond grinding grain, many Dutch windmills were designed specifically to pump water out of low-lying polders, keeping farmland dry and habitable. Some of these windmills, dating back to the 17th century, are still operational today, working alongside modern pumping stations. The most famous examples can be found in Kinderdijk, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, where 19 windmills form a breathtaking landscape. Visitors can even step inside to see the original wooden mechanisms still turning with the wind. While modern electric pumps have taken over most of the workload, the old windmills remain powerful symbols of Dutch resilience against the sea. They are not just tourist attractions, but reminders of how innovative engineering and tradition blended to keep the nation above water. Without them, vast areas of the Netherlands would still be marshland or underwater. Fact 21. The Netherlands was the first country to legalize same-sex marriage. On April 1, 2001, the Netherlands made history by becoming the very first country in the world to legalize same-sex marriage. This groundbreaking decision reflected the Dutch tradition of tolerance and progressive social policies. The law allowed gay and lesbian couples to marry with full legal rights, including inheritance, adoption, and tax benefits, exactly the same as heterosexual couples. The first ceremonies took place in Amsterdam City Hall just after midnight, with global media capturing the moment. Since then, thousands of same-sex marriages have been celebrated across the country, and the move inspired many other nations in Europe and beyond to follow. Today, more than 30 countries have legalized such unions, but the Netherlands will always be remembered as the pioneer. The decision was not without debate. Yet polls show that Dutch society strongly supported equality. This milestone strengthened the country's reputation as a leader in human rights and inclusivity on the world stage. Fact 22. Dutch cities often have no curtains on windows, a symbol of openness. One of the most curious details visitors notice in Dutch neighborhoods is how many windows are left completely uncovered. Large, street-facing windows without curtains are common, offering a clear view into living rooms decorated with plants, bookshelves, or art. This tradition stems from a cultural value of transparency and honesty, reflecting the idea that one has nothing to hide. Historically, during the Protestant Reformation, open windows also symbolized moral integrity. Neighbors could literally see into each other's lives. While modern Dutch families may not think in religious terms, the habit remains strong, creating a unique sense of trust and openness in urban communities. Of course, it is not universal. Some people do use blinds or sheer coverings, but the sight of a warmly lit Dutch home in the evening remains iconic. For foreigners, it can feel surprising or even awkward, but for the Dutch, it is a quiet reminder of their cultural emphasis on openness, simplicity, and mutual respect.